If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content.
What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal here. I am Shredlord.
Necrotic Nick.
And we are both very pleased to do a review about a documentary that revolves around a genre that is very near and dear to both Necrotic and I's heart. It's basically called Murder in the Front Row, the San Francisco Bay Area Thrash story.
Oh my god. Now, if there was ever a documentary tailor-made for us, this was it. And this was a fun little surprise that I got in my Metalhead box, which, thank you guys for sending me this.
Yes.
Oh my god. This is one of the best things you guys have sent me. And I guess, spoiler alert, you already know that we like it, but we're still going to go into it anyway. This was awesome.
A fucking gem.
This is like a really cool microcosm. Like, we've watched the documentary Get Thrashed before. I own it. It is an awesome documentary, too. This, seeing it like as it specifically goes into the whole Bay Area scene, like its roots, and how it was like a really cool community. Like, this was more than just Metallica, even though Metallica is a gigantic part of it. It's all the other bands, it's the record shop owners,
it's
the radios.
the people behind the bands, really. Like,
everything.
The excellent thing about this documentary is that it goes behind the scenes and really showcases a lot of the people that made this happen as well. It's not just the bands, it's the people who supported them. It's like this elderly lady, I forget her name, but she was like in her upper 50s, and she was Possessed's manager.
Yep, she also managed Forbidden, too, which was pretty cool. Like, dude, this little old lady just taking around bands to these different venues and putting up with their bullshit shenanigans, because believe me, there are shenanigans.
Tons of shenanigans, which are amazing. The gentleman who was the promoter, he was this guy who grew up on jazz music and was into jazz music, but, you know, he saw the passion that was in this scene, and he gave these wild-ass kids a shot and allowed them to play at this, what's incredibly famous now, if you're familiar with the Bay Area thrash scene, a place called Ruthie's, which is like anyone who is fucking anyone of the Bay Area thrash scene, or even, you know, around the California area, you fucking made your name or you got your ass kicked at Ruthie's.
Exodus was pretty much the house band of that whole scene there. And then through them you got Death Angel, then you got Vio-lence, Possessed, Testament. Everyone started coming there, and it was really cool just to see this old blues guy who's like, you know what? Bring in these crazy kids. They got something.
He saw something in them, he gave them a chance, and it grew into the scene that we knew and loved. I mean, like you said, this is very near and dear to our hearts. I was listening to Megadeth and Metallica and Slayer before I even discovered who the Judas Priest and Iron Maiden was, you know? I cut my teeth on Pantera and, you know, all this fucking heavy thrash shit. So to watch this documentary, it made me giddy. We watched this. We watched, there's probably an hour to an hour and a half's worth of extra content. We watched damn near most of it. It's at the end, they start going into pictures and the guys who created this video in the first place.
Harold O. I can't pronounce your last name. I
we'll just
try to
call him
remember.
Harold O.
And Brian Liu.
Yeah, Brian Liu. Both awesome photographers. They were a part of that scene to begin with. And they have photographs that are included on, like, Kill 'Em All.
Yep.
Like, the photo of Cliff from Kill 'Em All is Harold O. Like,
yep.
These guys were there, they lived it, they breathed it, and they told the story, and it was about the music, man.
Yep.
Like, they did such a great fucking job telling this story. I don't even know what else to say. Like, I'm still riding a high of this documentary.
It was cool, like, seeing all these different shows that got put together, like the Day in the Park thing, where they had... well, they called it, Day in the Dirt, rather. Just this giant thrash show in a park on a plywood stage. And they didn't even have lighting for the later bands. And they had Slayer there, Exodus was there, and then Suicidal Tendencies, which was kind of a cool intermingling. They brought in a bit of the punk scene. And those guys played at night, so everyone pulled together with their cars and put the headlights on there, and they had flashlights, so the band had lighting. And it was just cool seeing this community come together. And it was cool. They kind of brought in stuff from outside of the Bay Area. You had Slayer, which was LA-based.
Anthrax.
Megadeth was technically LA-based. But they were all pretty much welcomed in because they were just kind of part of this budding movement, and that was pretty much the heartbeat was in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you were a thrash band, that's where you wanted to play.
Yeah. Like we said, you at Ruthie's, you either, it was make or break at Ruthie's.
And for the love of God, do not show up in a rat shirt around Paul Bailoff.
If Paul Bailoff, this is one of our favorite things that we were talking about. Like, if First of all, if you know anything about Exodus, you know all posers must fucking die. Okay?
They have to.
All posers must fucking die. And if you showed up wearing a fucking Poison t-shirt, wearing a Rat t-shirt, a Motley Crue t-shirt, Paul Bailoff would literally rip your fucking shirt off and wear it as a badge of honor, like some kind of like a tribal fucking warrior, and just wear it like, you know, like a scalp or something, man. He hated that shit, and he was into it, man.
It was amazing. The whole thing about the party, like, I think it was someone that they said, like, well, I wasn't allowed to go in the party because I didn't show up with a 2x4 to destroy something.
Yeah, you had to show up with a 2x4 to destroy something. So they were rough and tough on pretty much everything they did. But the cool thing is how genuine everyone was. They really believed in the scene. They believed in their style of life. And even though from the outside it may seem very kind of chaotic and violent.
It is.
Which it is. But they were all still really close and had a lot of love for each other, which was very cool, you know.
Yeah, it went into like pretty much the trade-offs and members and such. And it was done without drama, which was kind of cool.
Yes, because we all know obviously the story of Dave Mustaine and Metallica, but you know, they didn't dive into the fucking soap opera bullshit of that. They just basically made mention that Dave was gone from the band and decided to form Megadeth. And I think I appreciated that fact because, you know, I'm here for the music.
Yeah.
I know the fucking story. I know all the bullshit that went down, but I wasn't here to this documentary for that. I wanted to hear about the Bay Area thrash scene and keep it to the music, and this documentary did an excellent job of that.
Now, the thing that I liked in terms of the trading off members was, in other stories I've always heard that, you know, Metallica flat out poached Kirk Hammett from Exodus. And in this, they actually made it seem as though, you know, that he was pretty much handing the keys to the car over to Gary Holt, which Gary Holt drives like a madman. We fucking love him. But I liked the fact that it was like pretty much, there was no hostility or anything. Like Gary Holt was actually excited that he was taking over essentially the band as their primary songwriter. And he pretty much gave a lot of heaps of praise upon Kirk Hammett because Kirk Hammett taught him how to play. Yeah,
every time Gary Holt opens his mouth, I love him even more. He has a lot of reverence for Kirk Hammett. They go way back, you know. Kirk fucking taught him how to play, you know, got him started. My problem is, and I'll dive into this. So obviously, I'm ride or die for Dave Mustaine, okay? And there's a spot where Kirk Hammett mentions like, oh, I saw Metallica with Dave still in the band, and he goes, oh, this band would be perfect if I were in it. That really rustled my jimmies.
I watched him. I was like, there's a vein popping in his head.
That really rustled my jimmies because if I'm to compare Dave Mustaine to Kirk Hammett, the leads are fairly comparable. Kirk Hammett in the early first couple albums of Metallica wrote some beautiful leads. When Kirk Hammett actually gave a shit, he did write some beautiful leads. But after Metallica got to a certain level, he just stopped fucking caring, and in my opinion, heavily regressed as a guitar player.
He just took a nap on that wah pedal.
He took a nap on the wah pedal, forgot to turn it the fuck off, and once again, maybe I'm taking it too personally, right? Because I'm such a Dave Mustaine fucking freak. He's one of my biggest heroes as a guitar player and as a musician. So I just saw that as a slap in the face because, to me, Dave Mustaine has more talent in his fucking pubics region than Kirk Hammett has in his entire body. Like, what has Kirk Hammett ever fucking written? He's got a couple main writing credits on some pretty shitty Metallica songs, okay? That's it. Dave Mustaine has a gigantic catalog of amazing tracks.
Albums. He's written entire albums.
Yeah. Megadeth, in my opinion, if you compare body of work to body of work, fucking slays Metallica, and it's not even close.
It's one-sided fight.
So, but I digress. That's just a personal vendetta I have against Kirk Hammett. I often grew up thinking that people fellaced the fuck out of him for no reason other than he's in Metallica and they're a great band. I absolutely adore James Hetfield. Yeah. He's a fucking riff master. He is one of the best rhythm guitar players in metal, period, hands down. And Cliff Burton was a fucking freak who died way too soon, man. He really got a good look at it, like him as a person too. Yeah, that's another thing I liked about this documentary.
Mark from Death Angels, the whole thing with him. Like, there's a bit where he was talking about he walked in with a Venom shirt, and Metallica had just toured with Venom in Europe, and Cliff was a huge Death Angel fan. He walked up to Mark and was like, "What are you doing wearing that shirt? You are so much better than that band." And he was poking him in the chest hard, and he was like, "Oh, okay." Guess we'll get rid of the shirt
little,
then.
and Mark was little back then. You should see some of the pictures, man. He was a tiny little guy.
16 years old, I think, was like how old the base average of Death Angel was.
And a lot of those bands, man, like Alex Skolnick put out his first album when he was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What did you do as a sophomore?
Nothing. I smoked weed and didn't show up to class.
I was playing in bands and stuff, but we didn't have no fucking albums out, that's for sure. I wasn't, we weren't that motivated.
Yeah, Larry Lalonde was talking about, being on Possessed Seven Churches, a landmark album, and pretty much, in high school, no one gave a shit. It was like, so you're on album, you think you're better than me?
Think you're fucking... I'd be like...
It was like, cool,
yeah,
all right,
I feel kind of accomplished. Yeah, okay,
I feel like I did something. Maybe I'm legendary, I don't know. Overall, this was a fantastic documentary. I strongly recommend this, even if you're not the biggest Thrash fan. This might actually kind of turn you on to all the reckless abandon that went on, because believe me, there is tons of beer drank, there are Ninja Star thrown at people, there is just nuts pizza nailed to a ceiling, hotel rooms trash, but of course the music. And the music was incredible. This was one of the most vibrant scenes in metal, period. I think in music. And I would love to see a documentary treatment for other big scenes that happen too, like this, because they did a fantastic job. It's directed well. It's narrated by Brian Posehn, which was awesome. The perfect guy to narrate this. And it's just pretty much this nice little window in time where it was just this vibrant, nasty, bubbling under the surface thing, and it just turned into this giant sound. And it's still around. All these bands are still pretty much cranking out music.
Yeah. And in honor of one of my favorite people, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who runs the Downfall Network, I'm going to drop some nukes on you before we leave, okay? Nuke number one. Every lead guitar player in this documentary is better than Kirk Hammett. Gary Holt, way fucking better than Kirk Hammett. Nuke. The dudes from Death Angel, better than fucking Kirk Hammett. Nuke. Alex Skolnick, if I have to explain to you how much better Alex Skolnick is than Kirk Hammett, you deserve a nuke dropped on your fucking head.
I second these nukes.
Dave Mustaine, better than Kirk Hammett. Nuke. The current guitar player from Shadows Fall and the lead guitar player right now of Anthrax, John Dene, fucking way better. Drop a nuke. So we're going to drop nukes all over Kirk Hammett. And it's nothing personal, because he's actually comes off as a nice guy. But once again, when he talks about this stuff in some of the documents, he comes off a little fucking snooty. And I feel like my little ass opinion over here in Thralls land, I just need to drop that out there. That he's very lucky Metallica has pretty much carried him since, what was the last good Metallica? Master of Puppets. That's it. That's pretty much the last...
Justice was pretty decent.
Justice is decent, but I don't understand the snootiness, sir, when everybody else in your scene went far above and beyond you, but I digress.
This is a big digress.
I
know.
I know.
It's okay.
You poor guy, you hear this more than anyone, so I'm sorry.
Man, the hackles are up! No, but I mean, there are parts where I feel as though he was really sincere. Like, he did tear up thinking about the whole scene and, like, him growing up with it. And I think that was totally genuine. But yeah, no, I agree. Mustaine.
And I'm sure he's a good guy.
I'm sure he is.
I'm just having a little fun, that's all. I don't personally hate him or anything. But,
no. But yeah, Mustaine's way better. So is Gary Holt.
Yeah.
You will become a Gary Holt fan watching this if you're not already. So yeah, overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this a solid 4.5. I think the only thing that could have capped it off more was going into some of the other smaller bands a little bit more. Megadeth only got like kind of a brief segment, and they got a little extra in the bonus features. I'll give them that. But overall, this is well directed, well shot. It pretty much touches base with all these huge things, and you learned a lot. And that's what I love about documentaries. You actually learned a lot more about this scene. And it's fantastic, and I strongly recommend you watch it.
I'm going to give it a 4.75. How about that? Almost a 5. And for the same reasons...
I'm putting up a 4.5.
He'll put up a 4.5, but you know what I'm telling you, people. 4.75. And the only reason I can't give it that 0.25 more is just because I agree with Necrotic. I wanted just a little bit more of some of the other bands. It was very heavily focused on Metallica, which is cool, because they were a big part of that. Like, one thing that was pointed out that it makes sense, of course, but like, a good reason why Metallica got so huge in Europe is because Lars is from Denmark. He knew all the European markets. He knew all the cool magazines and stuff. So he was really vital in helping market Metallica and market thrash metal over to Europe and make it as big as it was. So while I appreciate Metallica in that sense, I would have liked a little bit more, even the third wave, so to speak. Maybe a little more Death Angel. Maybe Rob Flynn and Phil Demmel were on there. Maybe a little more vio-lence, just some of the other bands that were part of that scene. They weren't as integral or in the beginning, so to speak, but they were still there. And I understand you only have so much time on the film, right?
Yeah.
But if they ever did a part 2, man, I'd really like them to dive into kind of the other bands or, the second and third wave kind of guys.
Or go to Tampa and do one about the 90s death metal scene. I'd love that. Either way, this was awesome, and I can't wait for another documentary to come across because it's going to be hard to beat this one. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We will catch you later.
Snooches.